find it fascinating that in education sometimes I think what we do is we tend to overcomplicate things when it comes to solving problems, when we're trying to explain why things didn't work out the way they should have in education. We look for a very overly complicated answer when the simple answer is right there waiting for you to acknowledge it. So let's check this out. Here we have an article is titled Rising Temperatures Cause Students to Underperform Across the World. Now, interesting. I think we know where this is going with the global warming slash climate change. UCLA's Edith de Guzman highlights how overheated classrooms are widening education inequities. It's originally published in the LA Times. Edith Guzman, a climate researcher at UCLA's Lesbian Center, highlighting how rising temperatures are undermining students' ability to learn, particularly in underserved communities. A comprehensive review analyzing data from 14.5 million students across 61 countries found that the heat exposure reduces cognitive performance, especially in complex subjects like math. Even moderately warm days between 80 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit impair students' attention, memory, and focus. Heat doesn't affect all students equally. Black, Latino, and low income students experience up to 3 to 4 times more learning loss from heat exposure compared to white and affluent peers. Now it doesn't. It does. Well, I haven't read the study. Let me say that. But I'm curious to know what the reasoning is here, because we already know that um, when we look at the academic data, there already is a gap between Black, Latino, low income students compared to white and affluent peers. We already know that there's a gap. Is this person making the the argument that it's because of the heat, or partially because of the heat? That's what it sounds like. So let's keep reading on. This disparity is largely due to inequalities in infrastructure. Many under-resourced schools lack adequate air conditioning, shade, or green space, making classrooms unbearably hot during warmer months. And those warmer months would be August, September, and then as we begin the get into the spring in April and May. So I haven't read this study. I haven't read this study, but I just, I can just think of, you know I don't I, ooh, I don't want to disrespect this person who went to great lengths to do this research, but I just think my common sense kicks in and tells me that, if a school was inadequately conditioned, meaning if the school was very hot, then there would be problems. You would hear about it in the news, and parents would be up in arms about it, and that's just and it would be unacceptable, and the issue would be addressed quickly. Um, so I just don't know. I don't know how much of this carries weight. Now I'm talking about the United States. Now she looked at six students across 61 countries. So things are probably obviously things are different in other countries, but I know that this country, the United States of America, it would be totally unacceptable to have a building that's unbelievably hot. Like students, like they can't. It's not. Students aren't. They're not going to be expected to learn in conditions like that. That situation has got to be fixed. Schools don't want that heat on them, meaning pressure from the community and the media about their building being hot. That's just not going to fly. I can tell you that. So I think that, education has always been about the pursuit of knowledge and information and the application of that knowledge and information. That's what education is. It's always been that, and it's really 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 simple. Now, the matter the issue of will comes into place. Like students need to be willing to come into the classroom, pursue knowledge, pursue information, so that they can ultimately apply it. That's definitely I can tell you as a teacher, that's definitely a challenge that us teachers were working through. But I find this argument compelling, and perhaps I will look at the research here. But the obviously the solution she says here is air conditioning, improved ventilation, increasing tree canopy around schools can reduce the heat related learning loss. And that's the first I've heard of that. But and then she talks about funding. School, a lot of schools have lack don't have the funding to implement those upgrades. So interesting argument. I'm gonna check it out, and I'll let you know what I find. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next update.